It's a pleasure to have you here. I see, well, basically many names, not many people, but I see that we are many peoples. And I think that we can maybe wait a few minutes for introducing Caterina Arcidiacono, who is our guest for today, and also because there are other people joining. So more people are coming. So at the moment we are 91, and I think that we can reach the 100 participants because people are still getting. And I think that this is really, I mean, we are very happy for the success and for this participation. I think this is partly, I'm sure that it's partly because our guest speaker today is an outstanding one and very well known in community psychology, but also with specific regard to this topic. At the same time, I think that this topic, the topic that we are focusing on today, is very important, and I think it meets sensitivities, and probably for different reasons, I would say. But I think that this is something that matters, that is very important for we as psychologists and community psychologists. As people are still getting in, I keep losing a little bit of time, and letting the people in. Basically,
we are quite a lot.
Yeah, I wish we get to 100, and I think that this is going to be probably one of the most successful webinar of this here. And but as I said, it's very, I think it's very relevant what we are talking about today. And I'm quite sure that, as I said, the guest is also another good reason for being here. For people who don't know Caterina Arcidiacono, I will briefly introduce.
Manuela, io sto facendo lezioni, devi stare zitta.
But I'm quite sure that most of you know her work, and how she's passionate about the topic we will engage in conversation today. And we still miss 3 people. I mean, we need to be 100. So please invite your friends, your, I don't know, students, the professionals that you know that could be here and be involved in this. So I have to invite all participants to mute their microphone. Some of you have it open. I'm going to close those that I find open. And now I think we are almost there, being not yet 100, but almost there. And some people are getting in, maybe managing some technical issues that I hope we will be able to solve immediately. So I think that we can probably start, and I would encourage you to close your microphone, and while our guest speaker will be talking, I invite you not to open the microphone. But if you have, let's say, questions, issues, or comment, you can use the chat, and then at the end of the main speech of Caterina, we will read all the chat, and we can engage into a live discussion. And so so for the moment, I would kindly ask you to listen, eventually make comment or questions in the chat, and then we can open the discussion at the end. In order to, let's say, keep the discussion clear and avoid the technical issue, maybe we can decide that people can write something. Maybe they want to intervene in the chat in order to make it more clear. And we will see how it works. So again, I'm very happy to welcome you all at this SCPA webinar. It's the fourth webinar that we have been able to organize this year, and we are very happy with that. The title of our meeting for today is Contrasting Gender Violence, a Community Psychology Perspective. And as I said, Caterina Arcidiacono is our guest speaker. As I said, probably most of you already know her. She is a psychologist, she is an analyst, and she's full professor of community psychology at the Federico II University of Naples. She has been one of the founders of the European Community Psychology Association and also of the previous network of community psychologists in Europe. And she is currently a member of the European Federation of Psychological Associations Standing Committee on Community Psychology. And with her team, but also with the support of the Italian Society of Community Psychology, she is the organizer of the 9th International Conference of Community Psychology that hopefully will be in person in Naples in June 2022. So this would be a very significant meeting for many of us. So she's an outstanding member of the community psychologist community. She's also the director of the international online gender journal La Camera Blu, and she's also the co-director of the online international journal Community Psychology in Global Perspective. And she has recently edited a special issue on gender violence against women. The title of the special issue is Gender Violence Against Women, Prevention, Protection, Prosecution Policies. This is a special issue of the International Journal on Environmental Research and Public Health. She has been editing this special issue with Chiara Robelo and Fortuna Procentese. And she is also one of the contributors of the ACPA FPA statement that was released yesterday, celebrating the 25th of November as a worldwide international day for the elimination of violence against women. And I hope that you had the chance to have a look at the statement. The statement has been published on the SCPA website, but it's also, of course, also on the FPA website. And it clarifies that psychologists can have multiple roles, that they can play different roles in contrasting gender violence. But of course, there is a special emphasis on the role, on the perspective of community psychologists, because there is an emphasis on the role that psychologists can play in supporting organization, providing consultation and supporting advocacy and self-help groups, and also more important, coordinate and evaluate community response. So I think that with this in mind, I can leave the floor to Caterina, who can open with a lecture on contrasting gender violence, a community psychology perspective.
So many thanks to Cinzia. And before start talking, I must say that all what I learned, or all what I'm able to say, that is something that comes from a shared work. And this is the knowledge that community psychology propose and prove and enhance and work for, to create knowledge by putting people together, giving voice to those who have no voice. And this is the first statement of community psychology in its roots, in its basic. And what I'm able to say here, I can say it because I worked with Cinzia, with Nicolas Carr, with Nicole Gale, in the preparation of the statement for the ECPA, EFPA, for all the for all psychologists association around Europe. And we did it very quickly because there is a long time that we are working together. So it was easy to join and share our knowledge and our perspective. But this document is also related to what I did with Maria Vargas Moniz from Portugal. And it is also related with all what I did with my Napolitan teams of psychologists, women psychologists, that we prepare something called Protocollo Napoli. It is a document on how to deal, how to work in psychology as psychologists. So, which are the knowledge of the discipline of psychology that can be used to help people, to help women, and how also psychology can be used against people, going for power, going for those who have money. And so psychologists are hired from those who have much more power in the couple and are using psychology against women. And so we did this protocol Naples, that it means we prepared a document describing all the traps that a young psychologist, but also all psychologists can have. The trap when your discipline can bring you in a trap. And this is very important because we arrive to violence against women as the top of the iceberg, and we arrived there because women and men weren't able to deal together, to help together, to love each other, and because we as discipline weren't able to do what we have to do to help them or to help us when we are in a couple or when we are with a partner or when we are parents of children. So this shared work of this group of Naples that I like to name, it is Gabriella Ferrari Bravo, Elvira Reale, and Antonella Bozzaotra and Esther Ricciardelli. And we worked together very, very hard, but we were not alone. We worked with Valeria Valente, that is the president of the Femicide Commission of the Senate of the Italian Republic. And so we work with the Parliament, interacting on problems, developing what are the traps for psychologists and what are the traps of the law, enhancing and working to promote a better law. So you see, just from the beginning of what I'm going to say, it is a combined, a shared knowledge that come from community psychology, that come from ECPA, where Cinzia is president, that come from SIPCO, where Fortuna Procentese is president, and all these women working each in his little place, going together, we make a network. This is a network. So we are able to do such big events. It's not easy to collect 100 people for a webinar on an afternoon, but we did it because each of us put his little competence in the basket, and working together, we were able to develop this conference. That is a conference that is also connected with what all of us are doing and what we are doing and dealing. And I must say that the Naples team won 2 European projects we worked on visual, on online violence, and the other one on men, on how to deal with men as perpetrator of violence. So we arrived to this point, I must say, for me, because I am old, Cinzia, she is younger, and Fortuna, she is younger, but this intergenerational network brought is power, because we are able to have connection, we are able to work together, and we love each other, and we love to work together. And our family are a little bit saying, you work too much, but never mind, it's not a problem. It is that give us patience, that give us the mattering of our life. Mattering is a new concept in psychology that means something that is worth for you and that make you worthy for the people around you. And so our mattering is working together. The reason we are always connected, always online, always connecting with people and creating such a nice and good event as the conference that ECPA is organizing now. And when the conference was taught, it was many months ago, so we were not aware that we will be again in a lockdown situation in Italy, and this COVID is bringing a lot of problem all around. And today we want to enter in the topic analyzing what it means, this COVID for women. So you see, in a community psychology perspective, we are joining psyche, individual things together with social emerging events. I try to share my screen. I don't know if I'm able. Yes, I'm able. Okay. And so I am very proud to be able to talk on contrasting gender violence in a community psychology perspective, and emphasizing ECPA because all of us, with Donata and Jim Orford and David Fryer and a lot of us, we work to build this European network. But
Caterina,
why
you're not sharing your screen. You're sharing your name, but not your screen.
Not a screen?
No, you are not on the video now, but we can't see your screen. We only see your name. So your camera is off, probably, but it's off also the screen.
Wait a moment. I see what I can do.
If you want, I can share the presentation, then you simply say next, please, and I will move it.
Okay, okay, I agree, because I get in confusion talking and using a device.
Okay, so I can try to share.
You can start.
Let's see if it works.
Okay, see if it works.
It seems it works. Okay, and you can tell me, you can probably open again your camera, so at least we can see you talking. And then we can just give me instruction and I will move the presentation on. Caterina, you just disappeared.
No, I think it's muted, the microphone.
So if you can hear me, please open your microphone and start talking. Okay, let me see.
Yeah.
Okay, now maybe we can hear you. Maybe your microphone is open.
Yes, you hear me?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
So go ahead.
Go on. This is the first slide with ECPA. We can go on the further one. Next one. And before talking about COVID as pandemic, we can call about violence against women, vai quella di prima. Women issue is a silent pandemic. Looking at COVID-19 through a gender lens can only be possible if we recognize the situation of gender equality, or rather inequality, in MENA region. Europe, Italy. MENA is all the area around the Mediterranean. Europe, Italy, and the activism around it before the pandemic. The world of politics and political leadership remains, especially in the south of the world, hermetically closed for women, save a few exceptions, which are far from being considered permanent. The main gain is, and we should say this is already something, that in framing gender equality issues as political issues and as concern to be debated in the public domain, thus breaking age all taboos are thus breaking age all taboos around equality. But first of all, the patriarchal legacy came into full play during the COVID-19 pandemic, as women's vulnerability and burden increased exponentially against a system that, even before the pandemic broke out, was unable and even unwilling to protect women and secure their rights and entitlements. The rise in domestic violence worldwide, leading to the killing of women and girls, has been explored and exposed throughout the MENA region and beyond, where neither justice nor law enforcement were able to respond to what the United Nations Secretary General has called the silent pandemic. So women issue is a silent pandemic. Then we can enter in the COVID pandemic. The COVID pandemic, as Camera Blue, we did a special issue, and we collect data from the Women's Center, and we collect data about the number 1522, that is the emergency number where women can call. And during the months of lockdown, there were an increase of 73% in call compared to the same period in 2019. And these data were collected by eStudy in a study on gender violence in COVID time. So we see that COVID time was a bad time for women. And you can find the Camera Blue with this issue, violence against women and the COVID emergency, for free, because in open access on the website. La prossima. Lockdown and invisibility of IPV, that means intimate partner violence. First data, during the first week of lockdown, there was a deafening silence in all the centers fighting against gender violence. No woman was calling. Total shock and silent, close in home. That was the first reaction in the first week. But then, then in the first weeks, center organized their support, but they support online. But due to the lockdown, the first reception facility could not allow new guests to enter. So you could talk, interact, but not going out of the house. And here is another data. The request for help to the anti-violence number 1522 between March and July 2020 were 15,280, more than double that in the same period of 2019, plus under 19. So these are the data compared on the 1522, and the other was the data related to the shelter. But this is the Action Aid report, but it's similar, the result. And therefore, women locked up at home were even more vulnerable to abuse than mistreated men. In fact, and this is the heavy situation, in 87 days of lockdown, feminicide are triplicated in Italy. And this is a very, we should feel that is a very significant data for all of us, and we should think how to deal and how to go on to fight for this. And andiamo alla prossima. I want therefore start with the commemoration that the University Federico II did on the 25th of November. And it was in the memory of Adalgisa Nicolai, one of our colleagues that was killed by her partner. It was a researcher in the agraria, in the food department of the university, and she was killed from her partner. That means that are killed are not the crazy, stupid, poor, unaware, unhealthy, and uncultured women. She was a researcher, very well involved in her department, in her laboratory, and she was killed. And there, her colleagues organized for her this big webinar with the rector of the university, with the president of the Feminicide Commission at the parliament, and they plant a jacaranda, that is a tree that she really loved, and they put this red, not red carpet, but this red punk where to sit, and for her colleague to remind her, and for all of us to remind how it is possible and how it should not be possible to be killed by our partners. Going on. She is Adalgisa, and you see, is a woman like one of us. She could be one of us in the meeting. She is Adalgisa Nicolai, one of all the women around the world, and her colleagues dedicate to her, vai alla prossima, this poem of Alda Merini, that is a woman that is a poet, an Italian poet that wrote a lot about women condition, and I think it would be nice to read this poem in her memory. Smile, woman, always smile at life, even if she doesn't smile at you. Smile at the finish it loves, smile at your pains, smile anyway. Your smile will be the light for your path, lighthouse for lost sailors. Your smile will be a kiss from mom, a bit of wings, a ray of sunshine for everyone. So, femicide is the iceberg, but in all, in most, in some, in few of our families, we are dealing with violence, with fight, with the inability and capacity to love each other and to create good roots for our life. Press. The key issue that we have to fight violence is and to fight gender-based violence is the Istanbul Convention. The Istanbul Convention of the 2011 is ratified from almost, not all, but most of the countries in the world. And Istanbul Convention is the key world rule to fight violence against women, and community psychology principles are giving a good idea on how to pursue their realization. Therefore, in the spirit of the Istanbul Convention and seeing what it means in a psychological intervention, we would say that in the ecological model of Isaac Prelenteschi, the intervention should be at individual level, in the man-woman relationship, at social-cultural level, at organizational level. So here with this webinar, we are now doing something in a community psychology approach, because we are having an intervent that go to people participating, but it goes at a social-cultural level, because we are developing the issue, acquiring knowledge, and we are and what should be our aim, is to be able to work at individual, in the man-woman relationship, in the woman-man relationship, and for all the gender violence that exists. But I focus on men-women and women-men in their relation, because we are here talking of the majority of people, and we are not talking about minority problems, but it is in all humanity, because it takes men and women. And I am aware also, and I think it's important to state it, that from statistic and the man-woman relationship, who's the murderer, who's the perpetrator, is usually the man. Yes, women can be with a very bad mood, with very bad character. We cannot say that we are always a splendid and special, wonderful women. Sometimes we are naughty women, yes, sometimes. But if we go to statistic, more than the 70%, most of the murder are men, and the people that are being killed are usually women. So it is a women issue. It is, unfortunately, it is like this. And I hope it would be not a women, not a man issue, not a humankind issue, but it would be a wish. It would be not an issue, and that would be the need not to talk about it. But as psychology, we are in the health and social system, and we can intervene at organizational level, and we can develop some measure on this. Can we go alla prossima? And so here we make a scheme that you can find it in the registration, or we can disseminate the slide. And this scheme is on an article that, thanks to Immacolata di Napoli, Ciro Esposito, Stefania Carnevale, and Fortuna Procentese, we wrote in an open access journal, so you can find the scheme very easily going in the website, and then the end you find it is quoted. And you see here that individual intervene on cultural level, the cultural intervene on the organizational, but cultural and organizational have their effect on individual relational level. So if we want to make an intervention in a community psychology perspective, we should take an ecological model, and we see how everything interact. The cultural interact with the individual, but the cultural interact also with the organizational level. 20 years ago, if you went to a police station, say, my man is beating me, the police would say, oh, you don't exaggerate. I will bring you home. I will talk with your husband. I will tell him you are a good woman. You are a good guy. And he will be nice with you. Don't exaggerate. You want to make a denunciation. You want to go to the court. Man, no, you don't need it to go to the court. He's your husband, the father of your children. Yes, but just because it is my husband, he is the father of my children, he is not allowed to treat me in such a way. So something changed, and now police stations have a shelter. They are working with organization and with the regional organization, with the regional government, to organize a pink shelter in the police station. They are connected with the 1522. But why? It happened because the awareness about this issue is growing and rising in the country, and so people are much more aware of what is happening, and therefore you see that the cultural is affecting the organizational, and therefore if we have a better system, if we have better institutions that provide effective protection to victims, that bring perpetrators to justice, that empower and strengthen victims, that create interconnection among different services, that enhance personnel self-reflectivity on violence, perpetrators and victims, victim, that promote peer group support, that use social media to make awareness among invisible violence, women and men will not be so lonely, because a woman is a victim and the man is a perpetrator, but he is not happy in his role. It doesn't bring well-being. It's not something that brings the joy. You are a dominant perpetrator and you are even not able to say that you are a victim, because you are not a victim. But now men are starting to say that they are victim of women power. They're starting to say that women are having too much power in their hands. And therefore they go to courts with power and money and lawyer saying that they are the victim to protect. So the organizational level, the institution that we are able to build, to create, and the awareness about the institutional role is a very important and significant activity for community psychology. So community psychology is not only working on a preventative dimension in school, is not working only in an individual supporting the victim or helping men to be able to control their unsupportable and their bad behavior, but we are and we have to be in the organizational level. So this, I think that this scheme is very important. You have it, you can have it in open access, and it explains and describe all the pieces of the rule and activity and skills that we need. We can go to the next one. And here again, we have the step that we have to follow, and from a step to the next one, we should be able to fight and to be successful against violence against women. So at first moment, we have the coming out, we have the violence disclosure. It should not be a silent topic. It should not be a silence that a woman keep in the secret of her heart, not to damage her husband, not to damage her children. And preventative action are able to help women, to help children that are unaware witness, but are victims and supported parents fight. So the first step is violence disclosure, and this is the first goal. The second goal is stop to the violence, to protect women, children, witnesses, and to bring offender to justice. We should work to stop the violence. This is the second step. But then we should be much more courageous. The third step is we should be able to support self-identity and self-esteem in women and child witnesses, and make perpetrators able to deal with their violence, helping them, even if difficult, to understand how bad their behavior is and how their behavior of this distinguished professional, professor and employer and people are then damaging with their private behavior, their women and their children, and that don't fit with school, with competence. You can be a violence perpetrator even if you are a very good and skilled professor, if you are a very good manager, or a very good employer, or a very good bookseller. There is no connection between these two aspects. But violence in men is not something that belongs to poor people, no skilled, poor people with no knowledge. And this is very important, because we are always saying that violence belongs to others. So on one side, we have femicide, and it is not our turn, because no one of us is going to kill his wife, his partner. Okay. But no one of no one of us is lose the okay, one moment, then we arrive to the video. So violence is invisible because it not belongs to the femicide, because femicide is not something that belongs to our neighborhood, to our friends, to our partner. Violence belongs to the rest of the moon, to the rest of the world. So we never see violence when violence is close to us. Then violence is invisible, and we should be able to discover it in small signs, in relational and affective behaviors. And then the last goal that I leave for the future, probably for the next generation, is to be able to create a restorative justice procedure, a truth and reconciliation actions among partners, ex-partners, witnesses, children. We had Tutsi and Hutu who tried reconciliation in Rwanda. We had the reconciliation procedure in Morocco against victims of the public justice and public sovereignty. We had reconciliation in South Africa. They tried to have reconciliation within black and white in South Africa. I think that our future goal, our thinkable goal, should be a restorative justice and a reconciliation between men and women in the future, not now, when we will be able to understand how it will affect and destroy our joy, our pleasure, and our well-being, the well-being of women, of men perpetrators, and of children. Andiamo alla prossima. So we have a project. There are shelters to protect and help women. We are trying a project to help men to be aware of the damage that they are able to do when they are using violent behavior against women. And this is a project financed by European Union, the VIDAX project. And I will ask Cinzia to show a brief video that explains the video, and the video is in Italian, but subtitles are in English, so it can be followed from our large audience. And I think that Cinzia will be much able than me in using.
Yeah, just give me a couple of minutes. Someone who has, well, I can silence all participants, and then I open the microphone of Caterina. I'm asking Caterina to open again your microphone, but because someone entered and was making noise, give me just 1 minute. I'm going to share the video that and it is there.
Ma al solito, manco la cena hai preparato.
Vabbè, lui sta esagerando un po'.
Allarga così si vede.
Ok, I can.
Senso di pesantezza allo stomaco, quasi nausea. Realtà virtuale, ma non è la mia realtà, insomma.
È turbato, abbastanza turbato.
È una cosa da far riflettere. E molte volte capita che ci sono sempre figli che ascoltano.
VIDAX è un progetto che ha come obiettivo quello della costruzione di un serious game che attraverso la realtà virtuale può far sperimentare ai padri quali sono le emozioni e i vissuti dei bambini nel momento in cui vivono situazioni di violenza.
Vogliamo con questo strumento consapevolizzare su come questi atti di intemperanza relazionale fanno male e quindi fermarsi un attimo prima,
interrompere il il momento in cui poi si dà azione alla violenza.
Perché parlo di padre? Perché in genere la violenza domestica è esercitata dagli uomini sulle donne, come dato statistico. Questo non esclude che ci siano madri terribili. Chi partecipa al gioco si trova in uno scenario che è stato costruito con molta attenzione. Un padre torna a casa, apre la porta di casa e quindi comincia a sbraitare perché le chiavi non aprono.
L'esperienza del gioco è un'esperienza molto bella e forte allo stesso tempo. Anche a livello somatico si hanno delle reazioni molto forti.
Le reazioni sono diverse anche quando finisce il gioco e anche durante il gioco, perché c'è chi si agita, chi muove la gamba, chi muove la mano, chi si inizia a spostare dalla sedia, chi inizia a parlare, immedesimandosi nel gioco, no? E dire proprio delle cose come se stesse vivendo quello che sta giocando. Io ho provato il gioco, ho avuto un senso di nausea sin da subito.
La realtà virtuale ti permette di rimanere te stesso e entrare nei panni di un altro, molto più del cinema e molto più della televisione. Cioè tu entri sulla scena, sei protagonista attore e tutto ti viene potenziato nell'impatto che hai su di te. E quindi come lo specchio ti permette di vedere quando hai messo su 10 kg e dici mamma mia come sono diventato grosso, qua puoi dire mamma mia, ma io allora quando mi incazzo sono proprio terribile. Il videogioco in realtà virtuale è stato realizzato dopo aver effettuato un lavoro con dei bambini nella scuola per sentire quali sono per loro le cose brutte che avvengono in casa. In inglese si chiama assisted violence, cioè violenza che fa male solo per il fatto che la vedi, perché i bambini rispondono, i bambini si vanno a nascondere, i bambini fanno finta di non aver visto niente, i bambini si schiaffeggiano perché si sentono colpevoli di quanto è accaduto in casa. Quel bambino è un bambino che soffre e che cerca di trovare il modo di proteggersi da solo, visto che voi non siete riusciti a proteggerlo dalla vostra stessa rabbia, intolleranza, incapacità a dialogare con la vostra compagna e con la vita familiare.
Ti odio! È tutto colpa vostra!
Posso togliere la macchina?
Ok. Ho 32 anni e un figlio di 17 mesi. È veramente una brutta sensazione. Io mi sono immedesimato perché all'inizio in alcuni momenti mi rivedevo. Non del tutto, però sono delle piccole sfaccettature che possono capitare nella vita. Ho probabilmente portato magari problemi al di fuori nella sfera privata di casa.
Ma io lo consiglierei a molte persone questa situazione qua. È una cosa da far riflettere. Il pentimento, diciamo che tu lo raccogli dopo, quando nascono queste situazioni in famiglia, perché puoi avere una lite con tua moglie, di discutere di tante cose, automaticamente o minore o maggiore di età, i tuoi figli, ci sta chi accumula, fa finta di non capire. Io sono sicuro che accumula queste situazioni, questa li porta con sé.
I bambini capiscono tutto. Io mi sono separato quando mio figlio aveva 3 anni e l'altra quasi 6, quindi posso dirlo per esperienza diretta. La cosa giusta innanzitutto è ragionare in maniera pacata, cercare di essere equilibrati, anche se in quel momento hai il sentore che si può sviluppare una brutta discussione, rimandarla. A me è capitato e io l'ho fatto.
I miei genitori hanno divorziato quando io ero ancora bambino. Disinnescare dei meccanismi di conflitto è molto importante. Chi non lo fa è un irresponsabile.
Noi dobbiamo lavorare affinché le azioni violente che accadono nelle famiglie non siano considerate normali.
Un attimo prima che le mani volano, un attimo prima che le sedie camminano, un attimo prima che gli oggetti prendono corpo inavvertitamente da soli, per il bene di un bambino che assiste.
Spero che, non lo so, di essere sempre un buon padre.
Ok, abbiamo portato un pezzetto del nostro lavoro a condividere in questa... We brought a piece of our work in this large audience at European level. We for the occasion, we made it with English subtitle, so to be able to talk with everybody. And we hope to be able to go on with the strategy that we had to enter in this complex system from different doors, from different approaches, knowing with our work how sometimes some approaches are bringing problems. And so I think that it would be nice to, if there are questions, or to open an interactive talk at this moment. What I had to say about the ecological model, I told it. What I have to say about the COVID, about violence against women in the intimate partner violence and the COVID time, I told about the figures, and the figures are very, very bad. And we have now to take awareness and knowledge and be able to find out a way to smile to the future, to the smile to the end of this COVID time. And we must say that probably without the COVID time we had not created this sort of webinar, because we were used to face-to-face meetings. But this is also a tool to connect, to share, and to make action, to make our world better, and to live in a better environment. So I think that we are trying together to accomplish our goals, and the goals that bring us to community psychology within the large family of psychology. And I would like to listen to some comments, some interactions, and some words of our large audience that we have today.
Yeah, I do invite participants to make comment, to write them in the chat. As I said, I was aware that Caterina is really passionate about this work, and I think that her passion was really in all the words that she said, and also was clearly understandable from the video and from the different materials that we have seen. So I know that there are many participants, and I know that many of them are also personally involved in this fight against violence against women, that are working on gender issue. Many people are working in education, trying to support young people to develop a different attitude toward gender relationship. So I really invite those people to show up and start making some comments or sharing their thought and their experience in the different countries that are again represented in this big group of today. Women are fighting violence in different countries, are fighting also to have other rights respected. And for example, in Poland, there is a great movement in order to have the abortion right respected. I know that there are some people from that country, maybe they want to, I don't know, to make some comment, to share their ideas. I think that also Caterina remarked at the very beginning that power is an issue in this conversation, and relationship and power relationship are relevant in order to define what is suitable or not, what is allowed or not. It's a method that we cannot ignore. So again, my invitation for participants to, maybe if you want to write or to open your microphone and start engaging in conversation. Maybe I have a question for Caterina, because I know the project that she's doing. Okay, now, well, I finish my question and then I will read the question from Chiara. And yeah, because we have seen that this serious game that you have developed seems very powerful, but it's focused on protecting, let's say, the younger generation, protecting children. So I would like to know if you are thinking also about developing a serious game that are focusing on adult relationship, that try to, I don't know, rebuild the same experience, but also supporting this idea that you should stop violence, not only because of children, but because you should stop it.
The problem is that we thought that we are now in a very heavy moment where there is a very strong fight against women and men. And if we enter in the talking about women, we would let men coming against, and it would not be able to create a dialogue. But we choose the way of talking about children, and we choose the talking about fatherhood to find out a channel of communication. Because, and we work very, very hard, and here we have following Emanuele Esempio and Marcella Autiero that are working very strictly on the language to use, which word to use, avoiding some words, because some words are having an effect of trigger, of violence, of verbal violence. So we are trying to enter in a relation, avoiding trigger violence words. This is the reason because we start talking about children.
Okay, I'm going to, thank you, Caterina. I'm starting to read the chat, as today I have this double role of introducing, but also of managing the discussion. So the first intervention comes from Chiara Silvestri, psychologist and former student of school and community psychology of the University of Bologna. And she said, I moderated a previous panel on gender-based violence while I was in Serbia, where Prof. Arcidiacono and Albanese took the floor. I do agree on the need of community psychology in preventing gender-based violence, and I do believe in international networking. The next week, I will start a project with the Montenegrin NGO Beyond the Surface, and I will try to address subtle aspects of violence, which Prof. Arcidiacono already addressed. Well done about the project of virtual game. Can I share it during the workshop I will host? I suppose the answer is yes, but I can give the floor to Caterina.
Yes, of course, she can do it. In our network, she can do it. But if she mentioned fan page, because we ask these public broadcast to organize the video. So this video don't belongs to us. And I ask to have it, send it for today. So if they quote it, it's okay.
Okay, thank you. So it's I think a nice opportunity to share this important work. And then we have a comment from Stefania Masolini, who says, Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much, Dr. Arcidiacono, for the wonderful speech and work. I'm a clinical psychology student, and I hope to help a lot of women and men in fighting this problematic issue through my work. I think this is a battle we all should fight, starting from education, making children aware from a very young age of the patriarchal reality of the society that is hurting so many humans. Yeah, I think this is something that also involves many of us working in education, because we are all aware that well, we start learning from when we are kids about gender roles, and we can learn about different ways of being male and female, and about relationship within the couple. There is, I mentioned the fact that women are fighting for their rights in different parts of the world, and Monica would like to make some comments about women's protest in Poland. So I would give her the floor. So Monica, you can.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Welcome.
Okay, but I'm not sure. I have I prepare some text, and I need maybe 6-8 minutes. If that's okay.
Yes, it's okay. We are willing to listen to you. Thank you.
Okay, so I will start. So one more time, good evening. And my name is Monika. I study psychology in University in Opole in Poland. So right now I will explain this women's protest in Poland. I hope that my explanation will be understandable and clear. So let's start for the beginning, because Poland's law were already among the strictest in the Europe, with abortion allowed only in cases of rape, or if the mother's health is at risk, or if the fetus is seriously compromised. So we have to go back in 2016, because 4 years ago, Polish organizations proposed to ban abortion in all cases except to save the woman's life. Polish government have worked on this case few times before, and always during that process to ban up the abortion law, there were protests in big and middle cities in Poland. What is important, that politicians have always dealt with abortion law to pass other bills quietly. They knew it is a controversial topic, and people will react to this. So the society was angry and focused on making the abortion law stricter, and they didn't see that there are also other bills that they were voting quietly. So I will skip those details and go back to 2020, because all we know it's pandemic time. The coronavirus make us stay at home and demand from us paying direct social contracts. So like I said before, the abortion case always comes back to make noise, and this time we're no different. The ruling party in Poland, which is Law and Justice, did it on purpose. On 22 October, in the ruling, the Constitutional Tribunal President Julia Przyłębska said that allowing abortions in cases of fetal abnormality legalized eugenic practice with regards to an unborn child, thus denying is the respect and protection of human dignity. After the ruling, on the night, there were protests in the capital, which is Warsaw, and there were marches of thousands of people, and they go to the house of the governing party leader Jarosław Kaczyński. Some of them had candles, others has banners, like I have here in the background. The sign reads torture. And on the final place, before the Kaczyński house, there were a huge and a lot of police cordon, the street. So I saw the live transmission, and people were angry, but they were not hooligans. There were no need to have a lot of policemen there. People just screamed the pro-choice slogans, nothing more, but a huge cordon of police. So the protesters in front line sat on the street because they can't go further. So they just sit down on the street and wait what will happen. But after that, the police used tear gas to the protests because they want to scare them, and police want to just say them go away. But they sit down and they have gas in his eyes. So after that night of 22 October, protests began to spread across the country and world. Protests were in large cities, medium, even in small towns. The protests were everywhere. Without that, hundreds of thousands of people, that's a huge number. Protests were also abroad, like in Spain, Germany, Italy, USA, Canada, I guess everywhere where Poles lives. What can I say more? Protesting people are really peaceful. There's no need to have a lot of policemen. They're caring and truly nice for each other. Everyone understands the importance of the situation, and we are stronger in this together. One of the slogans is solidarity is our weapon. I can feel that because we can feel the solidarity when we are together on the protest. It was not just a march in a serious atmosphere. We were singing, dancing, and we are having fun a little bit because we are in this together. It's not that we are really angry and we have to destroy something. No. There's nothing like that. No atmosphere like I described right now. One of the protest song is "Who is Not Jumping" is from the Law and Justice, which is the party leader and we have to all jump together because no one wants to be from the Law and Justice. Some says that Poland is a homophobic country. Unfortunately, it's true, but it's not what you can see on the protest, because protests are pro-choice, pro-freedom, and they are tolerant. It's LGBT-friendly area. Everyone is safe. There are a lot of rainbow flags and symbols, and this view always touches my heart. Another interesting aspect are the banners and posters. Like I said before, I have in the background some of them, and we can divide these banners to several categories. Basic, like I think, I feel, I decide, or the revolution is a woman, or there are also category of poetic, vulgar, against the party, law and justice, like slogan is, I wish I could abort my government. Another funny slogan is, even the introverts are here, it's really bad. Or if you want to decide about the other's life, buy the Sims. Or wish you to step into the Legos. It's funny because when you have children, you know how it hurts when you step into Lego. And there are much more of it. I just tell you some examples. And banners shows also a sense of humor. It also shows how people are creative. Some museums even ask about these banners and they want them for future exhibitions. And now I will tell you something that upsets me, because the Prime Minister and the President kept silent. But the leader of the Law and Justice, Jarosław Kaczyński, performed a disgusting speech. He said that the women's protests in Poland are the attack, and this is the attack to destroy Poland, this peaceful women's protests. And he said that this is going to destroy Poland. I can't even describe my emotions right now, because even when I'm talking about this right now, I feel the same when I heard it for the first time. And he said that this attack is an attack that is to destroy Poland. Let us defend Poland. Let us defend patriotism. He called party supporters to take action. He encouraged them to use the violence. After this speech, groups of mostly young, strong, muscular men were protecting churches. Seriously, it's not a joke. They truly believed that women's protests want to destroy churches, and they start to attack the protesters by physical attack. The other reason of the behavior is public television, which lies all the time. The information transferred by public media are controlled and manipulated by the government. People aren't allowed to get a full objective view if only use this media. They have also another, not public media, but they only believe in this public television. But right now, I can't believe that I'm gonna say it, but the reality of protest is in a social media. Instagram, seriously, Instagram has done a great work. Most of the famous people post the red lightning. It's a symbol of women's protest, and they post it on their private Instagrams. Famous people, this women's protest symbol were everywhere, and that's what had changed, and that was the machine that started to make the protest bigger and bigger. It's been a month. We have a lockdown in Poland, so protests are smaller, but are still happening. I can feel some changes in the society, but we will see how it goes in a national political way. It is said that each generation has its own historical moment. For example, my parents had communism, but I'm fighting for a liberty of choice and equality. I can feel the wind of change. I know that we have to be patient because it's not that simple. The change is coming, maybe not tomorrow, not in this month, but finally will come. So if you need more information, I can share my email with you or post something on this chat. I can write some Instagram accounts in English if you want some more information.
Yes, Monica, I think it would be great if you can, because I think it's interesting to have, let's say, an inner perspective on what is happening in your country. However, I'm unhappy to say that many of the things that you mentioned are common in different ways, but in many countries. I mean, you talked about media treatment, and even if we have wonderful laws in Italy, and also those laws are there because of the work of many generations of women, that they had their own moment, using your words, but those moments needs to be there again and again, because rights cannot be taken for granted. And this is something that is well known also in our country, because even if the abortion law in Italy is still there and is advanced, it's protecting women. At the same time, from time to time, let's say there is someone who wants to change the law and be more restrictive and violating in a way women's rights. So I think that it's important to recognize what is happening, and all on the one side the effort to women, but also it's also important to understand and make visible the support that, for example, the young women in Poland had from women across the country through the social media. And I think that this is also something that is relevant, and is relevant also in the fight against gender violence, because the serious game is a way of approaching in a different way gender violence, but also social media, and a more bottom-up approach to communication can also support the development of a different culture, as that is something that is required, as also Caterina said. And I give back the floor to Caterina, because there is a comment from Bruna Zani. She's asking Caterina to comment more on the goal of reparative justice for contributing to deal with this issue, because she says it's a new perspective, and I think it is something to spend some additional words on.
Yes, may I add something to my question, just to clarify the question, in the sense that the goal, the idea that Caterina put as a goal, that is to follow the reparative justice idea, is very, for me, it's new, in the sense that in this situation, the first reaction, the first measure is to divide the partner, to protect the women and to isolate the violent partner. For some of them, there is some program of re-education. But this is a different thing from the reparative justice. The example that you put in the sense of South Africa or other situation are based on the fact that both partners have to recognize their weakness and their strength, and they are willing to have a dialogue. So it's well, it's a goal. Is it a goal? In a sense, well.
No, the idea come from, you are right, the idea come from what happened in this country, and I follow somehow some of this procedure. I follow what happened in Morocco with these people that were repressed from the government and were held and had many years of jail. Then somehow the anni di piombo, come si dice, the Morocco years of fight of the sovereign against the people fighting against the monarchy. And what to say? What I see is that now we have men that are living alone and women that are living alone. And there isn't somehow no dialogue at all. So I was not talking about a dialogue in the moment of the fight, in the moment where you have to protect the woman and to bring the man to jail for his action, in the moment of violence. I am totally within the Istanbul perspective that we should not make mediation. But then, when things are over, years are past, you should be able to rethink what happened in your life as woman, as a man, because in somehow to have a relation with a man and you come out as a victim and you had to fight to bring out yourself, it is a check in your relation with men. And for you as a man, the solution cannot be only to have a relation with bitches or with young women that are, you go to prostitution and you go with the young women, or you stay with men because you think that the relation with women is not possible to have. We are now in a moment where we see people that from many parts prefer to stay alone instead of having a relationship, because relationships are told to be too difficult. And starting from this, I was wondering if it would be possible sometime, somehow, to recreate a connection between men and women and not only a fight. And it is not in the moment where you are beaten. It is not in the moment where you are in the court. It is not in the moment where you are getting divorced. But then you remain always the parent of a child, and you have your parental rule to bring, your parental role. And at that time, you should find out a way to recreate a connection. We cannot, if we go we are trying to make reconciliation with, as psychologists, we are talking about reconciliation with problems and thought of the previous generation, to be aware of our history. These things remain as a spot, a hidden spot, a place, a secret, something bad where we have not to talk about, or only to shimp. I don't know in English, schimpft is German, how to, we are only to say bad words one against the other. I think the situation between men and women is really a tragedy at the moment. And in the court, we are seeing men using their power against women much more than in the previous years. And we are seeing psychologists that are entering in this battle being paid to, now we have this new thing. There are two issues that are very terrible. One is that if we talk about bigenitoriality, and you are a woman that was repressed, and you lose your self-esteem, you lose your identity in a deprived relationship with a man, you probably are also not very able to take care of your children. At that moment arrive the court, and the court say, you are unable to take care of your children. It's better to give the children to the parents of the dad. And the children don't want to move, they want to stay with the mom. But the court say you are a bad mom because you are not able to take care of the children. And then you have the psychologists who say you are a depressed woman. Yes, I am depressed, but something brings me to the depression. If I go out of what brought me to the depression, I can reshape all my identity, I can work, and I can develop my life and enhance my being on life. And this is one. And then the other thing that is coming out is this sort of parental alienation they are talking, and some psychologists, some lawyers, some judge are thinking that if a child don't want to go to the father, it's because the mother make him a brainwash and he don't want to go. But he is a child that have seen what happened to the mom staying with the father, and they lose their trust in the father. So it's a very complete and very bad situation that is going worse and worse. We receive, I can read a letter that Marcella have it, a letter that we received from a father after the video that we show. And I think that our video is very respectful. It's not, and we receive some letters saying how bad we are. And they were really also surprised that we answered. So it is a very bad moment. Now we have also all the gay word and the trans word that is against women, making a man solidarity. And for them, the best woman is a trans, because the trans is expressing all the female stereotype. And on their chat, you can read awful things, like that women are nasty and are not nice as the trans is, and then they are calling women that have menstrual fluid. Women are individual with menstrual fluid. They are not women. So it is, I think, at that moment a very strong fight against women all around us, and it is something new we have to deal. And I want to deal it thinking to a final goal of being able to talk each other. I don't know how, in which way, but the situation is very bad for its consequences at the moment. This is my vision. And this is the way we are working in Protocollo Napoli, to make psychologists aware of their words, to make to be aware of what happened when you go to the court, how your words can be misunderstood, and how to make Wolfgang is saying it's a pity that there are only women. I know it. I know it. Our goal in our VIDAX website was to reach men. And we had to change. We study how to reach men, because the people involved in this topic are the victims are women. And so we made the Father Day, we talk about difficulties of men, we try to get in dialogue with men on these topics. This was our final aim.
Maybe we can ask the men that are attending this webinar if they want to comment, if they are so, I mean, if they are willing to. Wolfgang said it's a pity, but then he went away, so he skipped the possibility to engage into this conversation.
I don't know if Emanuele is part of, because with Emanuele and Marcella we worked very much together to find out communication language.
Io avevo un suggerimento, se posso parlare, Cinzia, che sto chiedendo la parola ma non mi vede.
Inglese.
Allora,
Yes, you can, of course.
Sono molto contenta. I'm very
English.
happy they have more than 100. No, I asked for more because I want to intervene. I very agree with Caterina and all. With the goal, final goal has to be, if not reconciliation, at least going side by side without violence. And I think this goal could be reached. I mean, my only experience with this in the United States has been special self-help groups for men who have been violent, and the judges don't give them fine or anything if they go to a group. And it was the most hard group I wasn't conducting it. A very good clinical psychology was doing it, but it helped a lot. Out of 12 men, nobody went out of the group. First, they didn't want to come. First, they didn't, and then they had lots of problems. So I think Caterina is right. The people that do these things are unhappy, are not, the violence is their way to find an expression to the anger and the unhappiness they have inside. So I think these are the people who need more clinical work. And I think to these kind of people, we have to provide some work. Lots of them are also children of violence. They were beaten by papa and mama or multiple parents, etc. So I think, Caterina, since you are a clinical psychology analyst, why don't you do a group of these? I mean,
we have on the webinar, Donata, we have on the webinar some groups with men. We started with students and then we enlarged it. And on our webinar, we have a blog for men, and we are connected. Oh, we did some, then we stopped because it was not in the project, but we had some and we started having some of them. And then we collaborated very strong with OLV, that is a group directed by Antonella Bozzaotre in Naples, that is directed to men, and they have group of men. And then in Italy, in the world, there is respect, there are some experience of working with men. And then because you are a clinical psychologist, there is a wonderful book of Richard Meitzen that we will be honored to have it as a keynote speaker on the 16th of December. And he is a psychoanalyst, a Jungian psychoanalyst. He's very, very, very good in explaining what happened in the man's head when they go to violence. And it is very difficult, the book. With Stefania, we worked a lot, and Gina, to understand what he's saying. And so he arrived to a point saying that for the man, it's so difficult to have, in brief, for the man, it's so difficult to be in relation with a woman opposite to him, with a woman that is not depending, with a woman that is saying her yes, that they go in confusion and they go in a very, very deep state of unaware of difficult, of impotence. And when they committed violence, it is for them a form of acting out, is a sort of way of, he said in the words of Richard Meisen, going out of his carapax, his manhood carapax. They go out with this traditional man rule and they beat the woman and they have a violent access. And this is something that helped him to control his unaware, terrible feeling inside. And then this is the reason we called our project a moment before, to be able to deal with this incapacity to deal with these bad feelings that come out when you lose your manpower that all the society give to you, and that you are it's a long discussion. If you want, the 16th of December we will have a webinar with Richard Meisen at the final day of the project, and or there is the book, a tale, it's a book of Richard. I can give you the quote. In Camera Blue, there is a summary of his thought,
Okay.
translated also in Italian. His name is Midzen. I write it now here in Camera Blue.
Yes, I think this is a very important issue. It's a very important perspective. In a way, given that women are trying more and more to re-establish power and to obtain more equality, because we know that in many of our countries, Italy at least is one of those countries where power is between women and men is not balanced yet. So in a way, we are wishing for the opportunity to have restorative justice, but at the same time, given the scenario, probably the next future will be even more harder, because on the one side, women are trying to affirm their own rights and to gain power, while those who are losing a power that is not legitimate, but they are losing power, they would probably increase their fight, and more violence probably is to be expected, also in consideration of the situation, because we know that a situation like the one that we are experiencing with the pandemic is probably bringing more inequalities, more frustration, and more situations that are critical for families. And so I think that this is something that we need to be aware. So I think it's good to have, let's say, a long-term perspective of peaceful and quiet life, where we are able to have a positive relationship, but still we need to be aware of what is happening and making all the efforts that we are able to in order to keep protecting women, educating men, and doing this kind of cultural initiatives that are very important for women, for men, but also for professionals, because as Caterina said, there are also sometimes professionals are not critically aware of the way they approach things, and this is something that can in a way exacerbate violence or maintain situation of inequality. There are also some other comments in the chat that basically express solidarity with the Polish women and consider the abortion laws as a critical point also for other countries. But of course, it's important also to share this information and be aware of the efforts that women are making across the world in different countries and situations. It's almost 6:45. I don't know if there are other people who want to make some comment. I can eventually wait for a couple of minutes. Please, if you want to say something, do it now or write in the chat. If not, I really want to thank all participants. I want to thank Caterina